And I'm going to give everybody again our official welcome to our Sunrise Spirit Society of Texas meeting in this beautiful Sunday, August 1st, and it's 10:30 a.m. here in Texas. And I'm going to ask our friend Demetrius to do the initial prayer for us. Please, Demetrius, thank you.
Thank you, Edu. Good morning, everyone. All right, friends, let's close our eyes, relax our bodies, and elevate our thoughts to God, our Heavenly Father, and Jesus, our Master and good friend. Let's unite these thoughts and together ask God for His blessings to all of us this beautiful morning of studies, and also be thankful for all the good things that happens in our lives, as well as the bad things that never reach us. Let's pray that the spirits, the good spirits that assist us every Sunday, evolves our dear friend Elaine, that prepared this beautiful study for us. And with the hearts open, we can better hear the message, and with Jesus always with us, we can start our meetings today. Be with us now and forever, Jesus. So be it.
So be it. Thank you very much, Demetrius. And again, welcome everyone. Now we have Elaine Stur bringing us Know Thyself. Do you want to try and share, Elaine?
Yes, good morning, everyone. Um,
Yeah, we can
well,
see. Thank you so much.
looks looks like it's working.
Perfect.
So, good morning, everyone. So, first, I'd like to thank the opportunity of being here today and everyone's attention and time. And today, as Eduardo just said, we're gonna talk about this topic, Know Thyself, the journey of self-knowledge. So, I feel that every time when we need to choose a topic to bring here to discuss with everyone, always there is something that in some way drive us to choose that topic. And when I say that, it's not because we know a lot about the topic, it's exactly the opposite. Actually, it's because it's something that we need to know a lot. There is a lot for us to learn on that. And this topic, for sure, is something that requires a lot of study, and not only for me that is talking here, but for everyone. So, and I would even risk to say that for us really to be able to learn and understand this topic, this may require our whole life, if not even multiple reincarnations, actually. So for me, this topic became really interesting and important for multiple reasons. So in a big screen, I have been observing that many topics that we talk here on Sundays on this in this public talk or even in the ESG, so all the conclusions or many of them always drive to this idea that know yourself is going to really help us to improve our moral and spiritual evolution. And for a bit more personal way, and I guess it's gonna fit with many of us here, during the pandemic, many of us, if not all, so we are found in this place that we could not really escape from ourselves, right? We stay at home with, or some people alone, some people with a small group of people, but we really needed to learn how to stay more with ourselves. And we have many different situations, right? Some relationships, they get strong. Other people understood that maybe they were not really made for each other, and we need to look for some changes in life. And that was the moment that we were caught in a place that, okay, we need to look a bit more inside. We need to understand a bit more what's going on. And sometimes this fear of being alone or being with ourselves, it can be quite scared because we don't know where to start. We don't know what to do with these feelings. And then the things just got really confusing, right? And that, I guess, was a moment that was really important to look inside and to understand a bit what's going on. And I guess this phrase that we use for the title, know thyself or know yourself, um, it's a very common phrase that many of us already heard, probably multiple times, but probably we never really, or many of us maybe never really stopped to think how deep this small saying can be. So, to start with the Spirit book, there is one question, the question 919, that exactly bring this point. So, Kardec, he wanted, as always, find ways to help ourselves. And every time that we talk about self-knowledge, we always gonna bring this question. So just a brief introduction about this question. Who answered this question was Saint Augustine. So, and Saint Augustine, he was a bishop in the Catholic Church about 400 years after Christ, and he had such a huge impact on the Catholic Church. He was a writer, but mainly he was a philosopher, and he always followed the Plato ideas. So, and because this one, when Kardec actually asked the question, what is the most effective method for guaranteeing self-improvement and resisting the attraction of the wrongdoing? So then, Saint Augustine, he just give us to start with this simple answer. A philosopher of the antiquity once said, know thyself. Well, but that was such a deep thought because it's just a small phrase, right? But Kardec, he was looking for something, let's say, more straightforward that we really could apply for our lives. And he kept asking more questions. And actually, in the end, this question is quite big. And we have four big paragraphs. That's basically is going to be the main base of this talk today. And he wanted like kind of a recipe, how we could apply this to our days. And then, uh, so when St. Augustine said this, know thyself, actually he was talking about such old philosophy. So this phrase has a kind of complicated history. It's not really 100% know or very clear how it started, but it's believed that this phrase was first right on the Temple of Apollo at Delphi, also known as the Oracle of Delphi. So basically, this Oracle of Delphi was a very important point for the philosophy in the Greece, and the histories say that they put together seven sages and they put together all their knowledge inside the temple of Delphi, and all that knowledge was really important to development of the philosophy. And this phrase know thyself, it becomes such an important point not only for the Greeks but become important nowadays in many other branches of thoughts. For example, the Hindus, Asia, Africa, Eastern and Western Europe, even the Chinese, we can find this phrase using for a different type of thoughts but with the same idea, showing how important it is to know yourself, to go deep, to understand what's going on. And they even risk to say that acknowledging yourself is the summit of the knowledge and is the ultimate challenge. So that's how important this phrase is. So know thyself. We really need to do a deep search and try to find what is there. But then, as I said before, so Kardec was not happy with only the answer, oh, know thyself. And then he keeps going like, well, uh, we fully admitted the wisdom of the saying, but self knowledge is precisely what is the most difficult to achieve, how we can acquire it. And then again, St. Augustine, he is still going in his answer. And it's quite interesting because actually he says that do what I myself used to do during my life on earth. At the end of each day, I would assess my conscience, review everything that I had done, and I would ask myself whether I had failed in some duty, whether someone might have reason to complain of me, to complain about me, and then I arrive at knowing myself and in seeing what there was in me that needed to be reformed. So it's such a interesting point here, right? Because basically he's saying that we need to look inside us, right? We need to reflect on our actions. We have to ask ourselves, what have I done, good or bad? What have I done in general today in my life, for the others, for myself? And what was my aim when I was doing these actions? Am I ashamed of my acts? I am happy with what I'm doing. What could I change to improve it? And then I guess here we start to have a such good point for reflection because we hear a lot and we say a lot things like, oh, I know that person like the back of my hand. He does not deceive me. In other words, we look at a person and we create that image of that person, right? Based on one action or in a little bit that we know about that person. And we think that we are good enough to judge this person and to create an image for that person and to define that person. But who we are is so much deeper than that. It brings so much more meaning, right? But then when someone asks who you are, and then what we start to say, we start, yeah, well, that's my name. And normally is a name that was not even our free choice, someone chose to us. Then we say our profession, our marital status, address, kids, that type of stuff. But this question is a bit deeper than that, right? It's not exactly what this is trying to tell to us. And then he keeps saying that review what you have done first against God, second against your neighbor, and lastly against yourself. The answers to these questions will either settle your conscience or reveal some wrong that you have to remedy. And then a good point is if God called me today into my spirit life at this right moment where nothing is hidden, would I be scared of seeing anyone or of seeing my actions here in earth? So, because this is always important for us to review what we have done, and it's going to be the most effective way to understand if we're doing good, if we're doing bad, and what we can improve it, right? But then, now thinking the following. So, have you ever tried to ask to yourself, who am I? So go deep on the question, who am I? We just said that when we are asking this question, we don't want to talk about our name, about our age, or where we work. I mean, that's just what we are doing right now, right? And this can change anytime. We can change jobs. We can change so many things so easily, actually. But this question, who am I? It brings something way deeper than that, right? And then is the point where we start to ask ourselves, am I a good person? Well, based on what? I can say I'm a good person or I'm a bad person. Well, and when I'm sick, when I'm feeling depressed, who am I on those situations? I am the same person that the way that I behave when I'm happy, when I'm love, I am exactly the same person. or I have different behaviors, different actions. And how about when I'm sad? Who am I when I'm angry, when I'm irritated, when I'm feeling extremely happy and grateful for something? Who am I on those situations? Well, it's quite complicated because if you start to think about yourself in these many different situations, right? When you're angry at something, you have one behavior that normally is going to be pretty different than the behavior when you're happy. So, and it's still being you, right? You're just having a different type of behavior because of some points that maybe we don't even understand. We don't know who exactly we are when we are having these different feelings. But again, it's still being ourselves. So these are such simple words, right? Only three words. Who am I? And it's so hard to really extract a meaning of that. So, what does it mean to you? If someone asks you, who am I? Do you have an answer? Do you really know who you are? So, I would say if with all of us here, we are thinking we really know who we are completely, I would say that we need to go deep because there's so much inside us, right? No matter how much we study, how much we try to look these things on the outside, there is only one place that we can find these answers. Of course, studying, talk with someone, with a psychologist, with a friend, or whatever, how you like to expose your feelings. Those are really super powerful tools. But there is really only one way that it's going to be to look inside yourself. So there is not only one book or nothing like that that's going to bring the answer. We need to come back to ourselves. We need to stop, understand our feelings, our thoughts, and what is really going on. So we need to meet with ourselves again. But okay, but how we do it? How we go inside? Because it's very easy to say, right? Oh, go inside yourself, go look what you're feeling. But our minds are so busy all the time. We have our work, family, social media, internet everywhere. I mean, we are always so busy, and sometimes we literally don't have time to stop and to go inside and to see what's going on there. So the phrase "know thyself" is such an old phrase, and we have learned so much since then. But we still pretty helpless when you're talking about self-knowledge. We still don't understand even what it means or how we can approach it, how we can go inside. So, in summary, there is so much more that we need to understand about it. And this question 919 continues saying that St. Augustine advises us to ask ourselves clear and precise questions and do not hesitate to ask them often. Well, why did he say that? So, because sometimes we ask something to ourselves and we don't find the answer right away, or we find a more or less answer, and you just say, this is giving me too much work. And it's easy for us to just let it go, to not rethink about it. And no, he says, revisit this question many times, as much as you need to really understand what's going on there. So, and he says that we really should devote a few minutes to guarantee this happiness that will last forever. According to him, this know thyself is so powerful that if you really can understand who you are and use this in our favor, it's going to guarantee a happiness that is going to be really hard to find anywhere else. And he even used a simple example in our day by day, for example, at work, right? We work so much today because we want to guarantee that when we are old, you're gonna have a retirement, you're gonna have some years to enjoy family, to not work so much, to have a rest. And he compares this with the little bit that we could dedicate it every day or quite often to understand ourselves. That it requires a lot of work, time, and a lot of emotions is going to be involved on that, but that going to guarantee something for us in a long term. And why it's so important to stop and think about what we are doing. So we commit many faults that go unnoticed. How many times we have failed without even realizing it, right? Sometimes we do something, or we don't think if it's good or bad, or think we even think that we are doing good for someone, but everyone has a different point of view of life. And sometimes I'm trying to help someone, but the person's gonna say, what is she doing? How she could do this with me? So because everyone has different interpretations of the life, right? And he even say that we need to ask ourselves yes or no questions. Very straightforward, because if you ask a yes or no questions, there is no maybe is yes or no, and it's easy for us to understand if a specific thing that we did or we thought if it is good or if it is bad. So there is not a lot of room for different interpretations there. And these are very personal arguments. And by the sum of the responses, we can estimate the sum of good and evil within us. Well, but then, once we start to go inside ourselves, of course, we're not just going to find very nice stuff there, right? Because if we are full only of good things, so I guess the world would be different, we would be different, and we may even don't need to be reincarnated here anymore if we're that perfect and so full of good feelings. And when we really start to look inside, we're going to start to find the things that we need to fix because that's what we are doing, right? And if we're really honest with ourselves, and I believe we are because that's for our self improvement. So we're gonna maybe sometimes even be ashamed of the things that we're gonna find inside. Yeah, and that's quite painful, right? Why am I gonna look inside myself if I gonna find ugly stuff there, stuff that I don't want to know? Why should I do this then, right? It's so easy to keep where it is, to keep hidden there. It's not hurting me. But then that's not self-knowledge, because when we talk about self-knowledge, you talk about understand everything that is inside us, the good and the bad. And we know we have both parts inside us. So, and then we start to look and we're gonna find so much angry there, right? And when I say so much angry, it does not need to be something huge. It's the angry that you have sometimes at work or someone of your family or a friend, the small things. That's angry. That's inside us. Oh no, but I'm a very peaceful person. Are you a peaceful person 100% of the time? You never get angry at all? And how about envy, right? Oh, that's kind of one of the most common feeling in the human being. All of us, at some point, we have some envy inside us. And what we do all the time, we try to hide it, right? So, and then that power that we want to have, or how I could use that power if I have it, the social distinction to think that, oh, I can be better than that person, or I am better than that person in this aspect. Oh, no, but this I can do so much better, and that kind of thing. And we eventually, all of us, we're gonna think that type of stuff. So, and of course, we try to change our thoughts about it. We try to sometimes even just hide it because it's easier, right? But we need to understand that all these feelings that we want sometimes just to hide from the world, hide from ourselves, they are part of us. And there is no way to improve and to really fully know yourself if you also don't look for the ugly stuff. And that's the point where the process of self knowledge starts to be quite painful. I guess there are many different levels. When we think about self knowledge, first you think, oh, that's so amazing. I'm going to know myself fully, and that's going to be great. And then when you start in this journey, you see that's painful actually, because know yourself include to know all these bad things, all these ugly things that we're going to see later, that they are not necessarily bad and ugly. It just depends how we use them. And we're going to see our mistakes. You're going to understand that sometimes we are committing so many things against the others and even against ourselves that is not really good, right? We are not even paying attention. So, and this is such an important point that many branches of the psychology and also in the Spiritist book, it's something that is a lot talk about. In the psychology, this is what they call shadow. So Jung is a very famous psychologist, and he has basically his whole life of work. A lot was dedicated to study the shadow, to study the parts of ourselves and a good part of focus in the shadows. And also in the spiritism, it's what it's called immoral propensities. Are those things that, sorry, that exist inside ourselves, and we need to find it, and we need to understand what we can do about it, right? And then is the point that we say that we need to become conscious of our shadows. So, what is become conscious of our shadows? So, that's also very complex because, for example, let's use the example of angry, right? So, we know that sometimes we get angry. Let's use that example of work, for example. We are at work and something happened. I don't know, let's say you ask someone help, right? And the person say, yes, of course, I'm gonna help you. And then pass 1 day, 2 days, a week, and that person never did what they tell you they would do. And what we do, we start to get angry. How come this person told me that they would help me and now I'm here? They didn't do anything. They just didn't help me. And you start to get angry and we start to judge the other person because it's our normal reaction, right? But then, okay, I know I was angry, but what means to become conscious of this is to understand why are you feeling that angry? Okay, I'm angry because I asked this help and this person didn't help me. But that's really a reason for me to be angry. A fact that a person that didn't do something that they said they could do to help me, they didn't do for God know why, which reasons they have, but why I will change the way that I'm behaving or my feelings because of other people' action. I need to understand my own pain. And that's what is become conscious. Understand why are you angry? Am I angry because it was really bad or just because it didn't really fulfill my ego? Because I asked something, right? And I didn't have. And this goes with many different feelings because it's easy for us to know that we are feeling something, but it's hard for us to understand that feeling. And become conscious of a feeling is what really gonna help us to change when we need to do some big change in our life. I don't know, sometimes a complicated relationship can be with a friend or a family, whatever, any type of relationship. We know that specific parts of the relationship is doing bad to me. But why we don't need, why sometimes we cannot change? It's because it's not, we know, but it's not real for our mind. We are not really conscious of that feeling, of that things that needs to change. And we just really gonna really understand how to change and change when those things become really something conscious for us, when it becomes real. And then when we understand what is that feeling and how we could change that feeling is when the real change in our lives really is going to start. And again, so if you're really looking inside, just thinking now, or you're gonna do later, and you really start to find these failures, these character failures, let's say, it means we are doing such a good work. We are doing such a good search inside us because we are so complex creatures, right? We are just in this life, let's not even thinking about reincarnations. So we have environment, we have our family, we are raised in different families, parents, and we have our work environment, our friendship environment. And this, in some ways, it helps to mold who we are. right? And so it's already so complex because you're a combination of so many things. Now, imagine if you also add the factor reincarnation, right? We have already these tendencies that we are bringing with us from other lives since our past existence. So think about it. We are so complex organisms, individuals. So which means there is a lot for us to look inside, to recognize our shadows, to become conscious of our shadows. That's a very important point of the process. Well, but then the shadows, right? The moral propensities that we heard about. What we gonna do with that? Because we know it's not just say, oh, okay, I feel angry. Okay, from tomorrow on, I won't feel angry anymore. We know it's not like that, right? Some of these feelings we may never really stop to feel, but we for sure we can change the way that we see it and what we do with it, right? So, for example, so instead of allowing fear to control us, we can use that same amount of fear to create courage to do something, to change something, right? So instead of that pain, we can see an opportunity for strength. We can use that feeling to become very strong in something, to dedicate ourselves, our time, our energy to improve it. Instead of allowing the trauma to define us, we see an opportunity for understanding, right? If you are full of these pains for, I don't know, for so many multiple reasons, right? Why don't we get these feelings and transform this in an opportunity, again, to learn about ourselves? We don't need just to feel that pain, all that trauma. We can transform this in something for our own growth. Instead of allowing aggression to overcome us, we see an opportunity to find our passion, right? That's the idea. We use what is inside us to bring something positive for us, right? For example, if we are a very judgmental person, being judgmental means we are always looking for something, like we are very curious about what other people are doing or why they are doing. And then why don't we use this to be a very creative person? Why don't we put this all this energy, this judgment, to put this energy to create something new for ourselves? And even in the Spiritist book, right, says that pride and selfishness are the root of all evil. So why don't we get all this pride and this selfishness and we put to help our neighbor, to do charity, to give our time, to do something good to someone. And we're gonna feel so proud of ourselves. Oh, look what I did, right? I could help that person. I could do something good. And you still having your pride and some of your selfishness, but you dedicating this energy to something good. So basically, this energy is still existing. It's gonna be inside you because it's your feeling. But what changed is the way that you're using these energies. So there is a book, is the Dark Side of the Light Chasers. It's such an interesting book because it says that imagine our minds like a big castle, okay? And inside the castle, we have many rooms, right? And every time that we have a thought, a feeling, we go and visit a room and we find a specific feeling there. And then we're gonna judge if it is a good or a bad feeling. And we do this during our whole life. When we are growing up, for example, someone starts to say, oh, that's a bad feeling. Then what do? We close that door. Oh, that's a good feeling. Okay, this feeling I can show to the world. And then in the in a long term, what's gonna happen? We're gonna have a selection of feelings, of thoughts, of emotions based not only in our own judgment, but in a social judgment from the people. So what we need to do is to go and find and open all these small doors and see what is inside there. And then look how we can use this feeling in our favor. So we are full of good things, and we also have some not so good things, but is again, is how we're gonna use this that is gonna really make the difference. So, and keep going about how to use the shadow in our favor. Imagine a man knows that whatever is wrong in the world is in himself. That's a deep phrase as well, because again, using the example of this book that I just mentioned, so imagine that everything that you do, that you see someone doing, that you judge wrong, we are all able to do that type of thing. So if you think you're not able to do, keep looking, because in the end, we always are human beings. We have such similar feelings. But what happened is the way that we're going to drive that feeling, how we are using that feeling to ourselves and to the other people, right? It's a matter of a learning activity of even actually is a matter of knowing that you have that feeling. And then after become conscious of that, you can then start to change or to modify or to use in a better direction that kind of emotion. And if he only learns to deal with his own shadow, he has done something real for the world, because to change the world, we don't need to end with all the war in the. Of course, it's great if we can, but I'm saying in a personal size, like in a personal matter. So we can start changing ourselves. And imagine if all of us we start to change ourselves, we're gonna see a difference. So changing the world begins with knowing yourself, know your feelings, and start to make the changes in yourself. Then we're going to be more useful to ourselves and for the world, right? And all the growth occurs in the moment where we are now. So we don't need to start to wait for tomorrow or for next life. We can start now with very small steps. Our best teacher is our very own experience, because this that idea that just looking inside yourself is such a powerful tool to know how to change what you need to change. So even in the Spiritist book, with all the advice of St. Augustine, what we can conclude is that is he's giving us an advice, a direction where to go, but it's a direction, the work you have to do. You cannot do the work for me. I cannot do the work for you. We need everyone work on ourselves to then really see a difference. Well, but then now that we have some definitions, some ideas about good and bad, about what is in fact know thyself. So, sorry, knowing our shadow, we start to know who we are. We know what is and what isn't us, what is for me and what is not for me. We get clear on our motivations in our public life, in our private life. We don't chase those dreams that maybe they are not meant for us, because actually maybe it's not really what we want. Maybe we are doing for some other reason. And in the moment that we understand this, we become who we really are. So we will understand our motivations for everything that we do in life, our light, our shadow as well, and all the struggles and all the graces that are associated with who we are. We come to know ourselves with a much unconditional love and presence, and that we can. And we can see that our worthiness is never going to be in question anymore. We're not going to have doubt of why we are doing something or where we are going. What is our purpose in life? Why we are here? So that's such a real power that we give to ourselves to consciously engage these patterns of behavior and be able to improve morally and spiritually. Well, okay, then let's go there now, because now we know that we have good and bad things, that we need to embrace it and that we need to learn. But what we can do to get better, where we can start to really improve, right? And again, self-knowledge is the key for us to improve. So So even if these words of St. Augustine is helping us so much, we need to have this individual work. So we need to learn to understand better the other, because once we understand ourselves better, we're also going to be able to understand the other better, and that's how we do the change. We're going to be probably less judgmental, because you're going to understand that as we have these very complicated feelings that sometimes we don't know how to deal with, the other person also has their own problems, their own difficulties, and they also need to improve. So, and then when you are in doubt regarding any of your actions, ask yourself what your judgment would be if was done by another. So you're gonna do something that you're like, I don't know if that's good or bad. Think if someone else was doing. How would you see that? Would you think, yeah, that's something nice, I should do the same, or I should not do because if I see other person doing, I'm gonna judge as something bad. So, and then it's a good way to start to understand. And then every night, this is still the answer of the question 919. It's such a deep question. And every night we should settle our moral accounts for the day. Those who can say that the balance it is in their favor may sleep peacefully and await their return to the spirit life without fear. So yeah, if we start to have this peace that we are doing what we have inside us and using in this best manner as possible to do something good for the other and for ourselves, we're not going to be scared. We are going because we are doing our best to try to improve. But of course, we don't have only to think that we are full of bad things, right? We are also have so much good things inside us. And this going inside is a combination of seeing the bad, but also seeing the good. Because the good is also going to be so powerful to transform those things that we don't know what to do with. And this book in Portuguese is called O Homem Integral, de Divaldo and Joana de Angelis. It compares the journey of self-knowledge with labor, because childbirth produces pain and rewards well-being, giving rise to life. Self-discovery is also a birthing process, imposing courage for the event that release. So continue goes to that idea, right? It's going to be painful. It's going to require a lot of patience, a lot of time. And we need to understand that always there is an opportunity to solve, to undertake, and another time to react and to have an answer. And sometimes that's not going to be a straightforward process. Sometimes we're going to start and we're going to stop and restart and we're going to keep doing. We cannot give up. We can try to keep going and try again. And we should not be afraid if the results are not coming as fast as we expected, right? If it is lower or if you're not even getting where we want to get in our time that we believe is a good time. So we have to have patience with ourselves for the process, and we need to love the process. It's not just where the end of the process, but it's the a long way of the process is where we're going to learn. So we need to be patient. We need to give birth to something new, to give birth to a completely ourselves, to an individual that we have no questions who you are anymore. And that's for sure is not easy. And why self-love is such an important point on this. Because when we go inside and we start to have these feelings that we even said in the beginning, oh, okay, maybe we're gonna be ashamed of that. So go inside, it does not mean judge yourself. It does not mean hate yourself. It does not mean nothing like that. It means that is to learn and accept who you are. Even the greatest commandment says to love your neighbor as yourself. And when we look quickly to this phrase, and, oh, how am I gonna love the other person as I love myself? But you know what? Sometimes we don't have that self love. Sometimes we think we love ourselves so much, but sometimes that's not true. We keep hurting ourselves. We keep hurting our way, our dreams. And sometimes it's just because we don't know who you are. So then it's really important to also love ourselves. And how are we gonna give love if we don't have love? We have to have something to be able to give something. And Joanna also says that the experience of love is essential for self discovery, as only through the arms of the ego of the primitivism that is still predominant in the human nature. Love expands as a co creative force, stimulating all the expressions and ways of life. Loving yourself becomes a edifying habit which leads to renunciation without frustration, to respect without humiliation, without submission, and is a dynamic understanding for really revealing itself to be a experience, a great experience, where we're gonna learn and improve ourselves, not only to be a painful situation, right? And it's gonna be, but in the end, it's for a really good reason. And we need to understand that we are enough. And this is a phrase of Jung that I guess is really powerful. Remember that you can know yourself, and with that, you know enough. But you cannot know others and everything else. Beware of knowing what lies beyond yourself, or else your presumed knowledge will suffocate the life of those who know themselves. A knower may know himself, and that's the limit. So, yes, we need to first of all know ourselves. Once you get there, we're gonna be in such an amazing place that probably we're not even gonna feel this need to know the other, to judge the other. It's gonna be more acceptance than judgment. And that's acceptance, use your judgment to be more receptive is also a way, for example, to improve your shadow, to use this in your favor. And here to make a summary. So if I could give you one advice today, the first would be know how to be who you are. So, why that's important? Because now we know a bit more that we are complex and we have so many things, and we need to accept that. We cannot just wake up tomorrow being a completely different person. It's going to require a lot of work and understanding and searching and going back and walking again is a continual process, right? And we need to know who we are and know how to be this person, to identify our strengths, our weakness, and how to put this together, and our shadows, and how to improve our shadows. So that's combination. Once we get to this point that we know why we are doing something, we're gonna learn better and we're gonna start to accept, to know how to be who we are. And then the reason why you are in earth. So thinking in a spiritual life, the idea of reincarnation, we are here to evolve, right? We are here to get better every time that we come. We are spirits having this human life, and being Earth. The idea is what learn and evolve, and then we need also to understand what is the purpose of your existence. And only this question, I would say, would easily take one more hour or a few days, or I don't know how many studies to explore this part. What is the purpose of your existence? Because I guess many of us, personally, I always had this thought that I need to do something big to really meet my purpose in life. And that's not true. So, of course, if we can do something great, if we can cure a disease, if you can end the hunger in the world or the war, it's going to be amazing, of course. But we don't need only to be such a great person to meet our purpose. Our purpose, it can be to help someone. It can be to stop in the street and give a food, give a hug, to hear your friend. So, and sometimes that's your purpose. Sometimes we don't need to think that we need to change the life of millions of people. No, and sometimes, sometimes your purpose is only to come here and get better for yourself, by yourself. Sometimes your purpose is not related with doing something for someone. Your purpose, it first needs to be with yourself. To what? To fulfill the reason why you're on the earth. That is to evolve. So, and then now I would like to go back to our beginning, to our first question. And I would suggest for all of us to go deep, to do this exercise, to ask ourselves, who am I? So, and at least let's try to meditate on that. Let's at least try to behave a bit like St. Augustine, right? To stop and think what I'm doing, why I'm doing. This was good for me. This was good for my neighbor. How can I improve it? What do I have inside me that maybe it's hidden there, but I need to bring up, I need to understand and use this in my favor for on my personal evolution. We have not to be afraid of this ugliness. We have to use this in our favor for our moral and spiritual development. And every time that we see someone that we judge that is doing something wrong, we always have to remember that we also have our failures, and we don't know anything about that person. We don't know why they are doing that. So don't worry about that. Come back to yourself. Try to understand what are you doing and why are you doing. So, and it's okay if we're not exactly happy in the first moment when we find these things inside us. But for sure, knowing it is going to change this feeling. We're going to start to love ourselves, to embrace ourselves, and start to improve this type of feelings. It's going to be painful, but we're going to become conscious on that. And then we're going to use this in our favor. So let's embrace ourselves and this amazing opportunity of becoming better, not only for the others, but mainly for ourselves. You deserve to feel all these amazing things, all these feelings, all the emotions that you have inside us. You really deserve to know yourself. You really deserve to know all this love that exists inside yourself. And so, I'd like to thank you for your time and the opportunity of learning and sharing at least a little of this amazing world that we have to explore. I wish a great week full of self-love and self-knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elaine, so much for this wonderful study and talk that brought so much clarity and comfort to all of us. Thank you so very much. And with that much inspiration that was brought to us, I'm gonna ask our dear Tatiani to do our final prayer and irradiation. Please, Tatiani, if you are with us.
Yeah, I am here. Can you hear me?
Perfectly. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, Elaine, thank you so much for this beautiful reflection, this study, and still involved with this reflection, with this good energy. I invite everybody just to close your eyes and starting thanking God for this opportunity to be here today, this Sunday, all united, to learn more about all the teachings of Jesus, to learn more about God. And we ask you, God, help us this week that's beginning. May we have the eyes to see, the ears to hear, in every opportunity that you give us in your lives, and every day, at work, at home. May we better yourselves. May we do the inner work that we study today to know ourselves, our weakness. May we be still enough, quiet enough to truly understand our feelings, our fears, our desires. May we have the strength to look to our weakness and ask God and His benedict spirits to help us in every moment. Would you like to ask God for protection, guidance? May our home, may your neighborhood, our cities, our states and countries be protected by your light, by your love. How the people who are in the hospital in physical pain, emotional pain, may they feel your love, your kindness through your workers or this benedict spirits and the people, the physical incarnated that they're around us, helping us. We thank you for all we have, for the food on your plate, for the health. We thank you for the opportunity once again to start here, knowing more about you, about the family of Sunrise Spiritism, who has been a blessing in everybody's lives, helping us to grow, to learn about ourselves. May we have a blessed week. May we not forget. May we reflect like Saint Augustine every night, just a little bit. Put your hand on your conscience and think about what could I be done? What could I have done better today? How can I do better tomorrow? We thank you so much for this opportunity. Protect your families once again, our loved ones, and be with us. And so be it.
So be it. Thank you very much, Tatiani, as well, for this beautiful prayer. And we're going to ask Claudinha to do our final announcements. Claudinha, are you with us?
Sim, sorry. Yes, are you guys hearing me?
Yes, I
Yes?
can hear you. Yes, perfectly.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. So we have a reminder here today that next week, August 8th, we are going to be closed and we're not going to have virtual activities on that day because we're actually the workers of Sunrise, we're going to be working that day to prepare our new location for our open house. We're planning to have our open house on our new physical location. And here's our new address on August 15, which is the following Sunday. And it will be an event for the whole family. Initially, this location will only have our Sunday meetings face to face. We are also exploring the possibility of offering a stream option for our Sunday meetings. We're already looking to equipment and doing all of that. And next week, we'll do the setup and we'll, of course, let everybody know and then but our weekly studies will remain online. Okay, so our Tuesday spirits book studies and our Wednesday reflections on the gospel according to the spiritism and our irradiation group will also remain virtual throughout the week. And that's it. We hope everybody have a great week. Thank you, Tati, thank you, Elaine, and thank you, Edu.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Sunday and a beautiful week ahead. Thank you all. Bye bye.
Bye bye.